Hello there, everyone. Today I'm going to touch base on and kind of introduce a program or kind of really a website that allows you to download, visualize, and even teaches you some skill sets when it comes to social data. You can see it's already in front of you. The website platform is Social Explorer. You can even see in the right hand corner that I have access to this plan through the university I work at, University of Arkansas. So for me, I don't have to pay for it. I luck out because of the institution license that we have or the plan with them. With that, I'm going to touch on a couple different options today that you can use Social Explorer for. By all means, there's much more than I will cover. I did not know I could post a video to YouTube with their website, so I reached out. They said it's all good, and here I am recording another one. I've recorded prior ones for my class, but I just thought I would update and make one as a whole. Given the name of the website as a whole, we're going to deal with a lot of social data that they have access to. You can access this same data through the census, and I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the newer data.census.gov option. To me, I was more of an American Fact Finder fan myself. I will say after I've used it, the best option in getting close to Fact Finder again is you still using the advanced search tools, but in reality, and they do give you some good functionality within it. That was a nice update, but I'm still not the biggest of fans, and that's why I've gravitated towards Social Explorer since Fact Finder is no longer in commission. With that, I'm going to just briefly introduce a quick website that I enjoy using, DataUSA.io. It pulls a lot of social data. You can type in specific cities. So if I wanted to understand Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I currently live and work, I can type in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It gives you a couple different options, but it pulls up a lot of social information that's pulling from multiple sources and giving you an overview as a whole, and you can see the different categories here. Pretty cool when you're trying to get the quick facts, and the census does a quick facts of cities and places for that as well, but I like this one a bit more with where it's pulling from and even some of the visualization that they offer within different parts of it. It's pretty handy, and from an education standpoint, I like students to be able to visualize what we're talking about sometimes. So this is a good way to integrate data into some of the just general discussions with that. At the same point of that, that's why I also like Social Explorer. Social Explorer has quite a bit of data embedded within it that you can download, use in other programs. I'm not going to touch too heavily on that because you can do a lot of mapping applications within Social Explorer, and that's why I honestly like it. And you can even download and save projects to come back to, so you can download data, save how you downloaded that as a project folder or file kind of format, and then come back to it later if you need to pull more data, change it a bit, or just remember what you did the time before. With that, there are a couple cool options that Social Explorer does allow you to do. They have quite a bit in the lessons, so teaching and learning capabilities. Obviously, my background's criminal justice. They have 10 lectures on this. I have not gone through each one of them. With that, some in general, when I've looked over kind of all of the ones on here, are a bit better than others, but they're all learning experiences. So if you're not familiar with Social Explorer, it's a good way to spend some time, get used to what options you have within it, and learn a couple different data sets that they're using within them. With that, the cool part that they also have is, since I'm teaching a spatial analysis course, you can also download geodata itself. So that's a lot of our boundary files, and they even have it labeled here with our different shape files, and that gives it our boundary files, and we can attach to it with the other data and kind of richness of it. The census does allow the merging of some of our main social characteristics to certain boundary files, be it tract, city, county. So they have some of that already that you could mass download, but Social Explorer also gives you the option to do that. All you would do is merge or join based on the unique ID. You can see here they have quite a few different areas that you can download for. But with that, let's get into just the data itself and then the mapping function itself. So the big part that I typically have students start with is just understanding the tables functionality itself. So how can you download data out of Social Explorer? And when I did this, I also had them do a project or take the data and then map it in Microsoft Excel. So you do have functionality that you can take out of Social Explorer and use in other programs, be it Excel, a GIS, an R, Stata, whatever you want to do with that. They give you plenty of options. You can even see here they have a lot of their data sets pulled up, so you can click on and kind of go through. They even have all the documentation and dictionaries, data dictionaries for it. So if you wanted to use this and understand where the data is coming from and what it represents, go through the data dictionaries. But you can see here, a lot of these are open source governmental data sets that you could download. They house them all together in a nice package for you. So if we're going to the American Community Survey, the ACS estimates, we have some of the newer data. So let's click on the 5-year estimates for 2019 and we can begin the report. With that, it's going to pull up the basic identifiers that you want to select from. So let's say I'm interested in, let's do counties, and I only want counties in, let's say, Illinois, and then I can select a specific one, or I can just do all counties in Illinois. And I want to add this to my geography selection. You can see here it's just added down to it. And you can change this up. You can come back and change it to what you would like, and then proceed to tables. And this is where you just click what measures you want, what variables you want to add into your table itself. So with that, let's just do some quick ones of population, and let's do age. And if we hit show results, you can see that it breaks it down by county, the population, then we see our age broken down into the different categories within. The cool part within Social Explorer is you can save this and export it out in a number of different formats. So you can do Excel depending on the file size itself. I will say it typically saves it as you see here, to where the counties are the columns instead of rows, which makes life kind of a bit easier and you don't have to transpose all of your data. But if you went to data download and you just did the CSV, it puts the counties itself into the rows, which is a lot easier to work with, and then you have your population and age measured as columns or variables within that mindset. But you can also download into other formats, SAS, SPSS, data, or a text file itself. So it gives you a lot of downloading capabilities. With that, all of your geo IDs, to where if you want to merge it together, join it based on that, it's pretty helpful. Pretty easy to just plug and play based on their data itself. The other part that I've spent more time in, had students create maps, is just using their mapping data, their spatial data that's tied to a lot of their social data. So let's just click on one of the first ones. Let's get into, let's do a crime one. Since this class that I teach is somewhat crime related, let's get into the crime one itself, the crime one. You can see here this is UCR, and it kind of gives you the FBI data set up here. We have some gaps in it where some places don't report data, not shocking because of that, but you can change your data too. So if you want to go to an older year, different geography, anything with that, you have the option to do so. So let's go back a couple years and see what that looks like. Let's go to 2016 and see what we have as different categories that come up here. So COVID, I'm missing the crime one now. Can I just not see it? Violent crimes. There we go. So we have violent crimes. And we're going to go down to, and why it's important to have rates is, if we're just comparing violent crimes and property crimes to one another, it counts itself. It's not taking into account the population base for that. This one, the county level. So the population, that's why we have per 100,000. So that's the number of crimes per 100,000 residents or population for that county. It gives us a metric that we can compare across different geographic units because we have a base of it. We're actually incorporating their population as a whole. So let's just look at violent crime rates at the county level. Click that, and now I can exit and go back. And with that, we can even go higher to state if you want to get into that, so we can see differences on that. You're probably looking at this and like, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of difference. That's where they give quite a few options within the legend itself, the shading, the color palette of it. So we click on more options. We can change some of this to make it a bit easier to see. You can annotate it, you can do a lot with, and that's why I like it as that kind of mentality. But within this, you can choose a couple different color palettes, since we typically, in crime-related research, red usually means a higher, to a green or blue that means lower. So if we change that a little, you can see some disparities here within that. You can even see that it pulls up Alaska, and if we go down to Hawaii, we have those within it. I'm going to just zoom in right now on the continental United States. So we have some options in there, but when you're looking at this, we don't necessarily know how these are being split up between the values. So if we go into our cut points, we can actually change it. So you can see here it's just a category, it's default, and it has 11 classes. It doesn't do a whole lot for us when we're trying to visualize this. So there's a couple different options. Typically I stick to a quantile or just change it to where it's not always a quantile. This one has 11 classes and I want to go down to say 5, so it's more quintile. And now you can pick up greater variation within it and show it, and you know how it's split up. So each one has 20% in it. It has 5 classes, so you know how they're split up that way. The cool part, I think, and why I really like kind of the comparison from a spatial standpoint, say we want to compare it to another one and we want to do a side by side. Or actually I like the swipe one. I've been playing with it a bit more. So same data set, you can see up here it's stayed the same, but now let's go down and change it to county level. So you can see it's split up the same way, but now we can change it based on the level of analysis. So you can see here not everything's the same threshold. Keep in mind we need to change this one over here to also be, the cut points are quantile, so I'm just double checking that to make sure we're in the same one. Apply to both maps, done. So you can see here there's variation within each state, and that's what we want to pick up, that even though a state might be red, as you can see here in Nevada, it's certain counties within it that have a higher violent crime rate than others. So that's where it can take it higher based on variation within. So not every place is high in crime. It's a pretty cool way to visualize some of that information. Another one that I like to do with that as well is, let's just change our data set as a whole. Let's go into 2019. Let's do population. Let's do population as a whole, or we can do per square mile. That doesn't hurt. So we have that one. Exit here. And I want to change this data as well to match that. So 2019 population and per square mile. So you can start to see here there are variations, but keep in mind that we need to update again our cut points, because it does shift back. Anytime you change that, it does change within it. So if I do quantile, I'm going to go back to just 5 to pick up some variation within. I'm going to apply the same one to both maps. And now you can see here, this one's still at the county level, this one's at the state level. So if I come across and show all states, you can see high population based on the square miles, so the density of population. Then if we come across, you can start to pick up variation within each state. So we can see that there are differences within. And you can get creative in here if you wanted to change even the color palette a bit more. Where's the one I was messing with the other day? It's where, yes, this is kind of a interesting color choice, and I'm going to need to change this one over here now to match it. But I do like kind of just the change, and this is where it gives you freedom to, oops, wrong one. There we go. To change what you're viewing, and you can export it. You can see here you can export it as an image, and it gives you different options here too as well to make stories and show it across multiple slides or maps itself. But with that, you can pick up on variation within. And why I like this in population measures, so say we now have county, let's change this to census tract, so even a smaller unit, so tracts are within each county. So we'll be able to pick up even more micro level variations within each unit of analysis. So again, these are the counties within the continental United States. You can even see Puerto Rico down there. But as we come across and swipe to show the census tracts, smaller neighborhoods, you can see the variation within. So if I zoom in here to part of Arkansas, Fort Smith, and here we have Fayetteville, we can even see boundaries here, the states kind of coming across here. You can see differences within states itself, and as I continue to move that across, you can see the areas. So we have variation within. Even when we zoom in and go from county to tract, we see that not everything's the same, and when you go to higher units of analysis, you lose out on some of that variation, a washout effect. You can't pick it up. So that's why I'm a fan of this tool within Social Explorer to show variation at different levels of analysis. And you can even go from tract, if you wanted to break it down on this one, then to block groups. So we even have smaller, so block groups are within tracts. You can even see, give it a second to load. If we come across here, you won't see too much different, but we'll have to zoom in. So let me zoom in again to the Little Rock area. So right now we're showing tract, and then come across to block group. You see some changes and smaller variations, and that's to be expected. Block groups are within the tract. Some are still going to be high, and some are going to be lower based on that now separation. So to me, that's kind of the ins and outs of a quick analysis within Social Explorer. You can download all of the data that's being displayed here. That's what I find as the handy part of, if we went back to just the main dashboard, you can come back and still download the same data that you were displaying in there. You can download it and take it into another program or use it for other types of analysis. But I didn't touch on here, you can also upload other data within, oops, I didn't mean to click that, within this as well. So you have the option to, let me find it real quick. Oh, there we go. Within your other options, obviously you can filter. So if you want to filter based on, I guess, specific states or location parameters, you can also obviously filter. You can also export a table out of here, so your report would be based on that, and you can take out the data with it. But you can also upload data itself and layers with it. So if you're familiar with GIS and you have, say, shapefiles, KML, other ones, you can upload your data to it and visualize overlapping or layers of data itself. Pretty cool to see, similar to what you can do in other programs, but it gives you a one-stop shop to do and view multiple data sets within one. With that, I wasn't going to do a lot for this video, so if there's follow-up questions, interest, please reach out to me. I don't mind making more, I just don't know how often Social Explorer is used, but I have no problem making additional videos if it's of interest to other people. Please reach out if so. If not, enjoy the day. See you.